relations between the United States and Iran have entered a more dangerous phase after diplomatic efforts failed over the weekend. The situation escalated when Donald Trump threatened to impose a blockade on the Strait of Hormuz, a move that could significantly widen a war that is already in its seventh week. This development is not only a military concern, but also a global economic issue, as it has already begun to push oil prices higher and could lead to broader financial instability worldwide. The United States military confirmed that it would begin enforcing a blockade on all ships entering or leaving Iranian ports starting at 10 a.m. Monday, Washington time. However, it clarified that ships simply passing through the Strait of Hormuz without stopping in Iran would still be allowed to transit. This selective restriction shows that the U.S. is trying to pressure Iran directly while avoiding a complete shutdown of global shipping routes, though the risk of wider disruption remains high. Iran responded strongly and immediately rejected the move. Its military labeled the blockade as illegal and described it as an act of piracy. In a firm warning broadcast on state television, Iran's Central Command stated, "If the security of the Islamic Republic of Iran's ports in the waters of the Persian Gulf and the Arabian Sea is threatened, no port in the Persian Gulf and the Arabian Sea will be safe." This statement clearly signals that Iran could retaliate not just against U.S. forces, but potentially against broader regional shipping, raising fears of a much larger conflict. This latest escalation comes after high-level talks between the U.S. and Iran and Pakistan failed to produce any agreement. These negotiations were led by J.D. Vance and Mohammad Bagher Khalibaf and were seen as a critical opportunity to stabilize the situation. However, the discussions collapsed mainly due to disagreements over Iran's nuclear program. This failure is particularly significant because it puts at risk a ceasefire agreement reached just a week earlier, which had raised hopes that the conflict might soon be resolved. President Trump appeared largely unconcerned about the breakdown of negotiations. He emphasized that the United States had already achieved its key military objectives, including weakening Iran's ability to produce missiles and drones. Reflecting this confidence, he stated, "If they don't come back, I'm fine." This statement suggests that the U.S. administration believes it holds the upper hand militarily and is not under immediate pressure to return to diplomacy. Trump's rhetoric has also become increasingly aggressive. Earlier, he declared that the U.S. was locked and loaded and ready to finish up the little that is left of Iran. He further issued a direct warning saying, "Any Iranian who fires at us or at peaceful vessels will be blown to hell." Such statements indicate a willingness to escalate militarily if Iran challenges the blockade, increasing the risk of direct confrontation. The broader impact of these developments is already being felt globally. The conflict has caused thousands of deaths so far and has significantly disrupted energy markets. Oil and gas prices have surged, creating concerns about rising inflation and slowing economic growth worldwide. Countries that depend heavily on imported energy are especially vulnerable, as higher fuel costs can affect everything from transportation to food prices. The importance of the Strait of Hormuz cannot be overstated in this context. It is one of the most critical energy choke points in the world, responsible for about one-fifth of global oil and liquefied natural gas flows. Any disruption in this region has immediate and far-reaching consequences. Following the latest developments, oil markets reacted sharply. Brent crude prices jumped by as much as 9.1%, reaching nearly $104 per barrel, while European gas prices increased by up to 18%. These figures highlight how sensitive global markets are to instability in this region. According to Ewan Graham, the blockade is intended to increase economic pressure on Iran. However, he pointed out that blockades typically do not produce immediate results. While they can be effective over time, they often require sustained enforcement and patience. This creates a potential mismatch with Washington's desire for quick outcomes. the situation is further complicated by the fragile ceasefire currently in place. This two-week agreement is set to expire on April 22nd, but rising tensions around the blockade could cause it to collapse even earlier. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has already warned that any military vessels approaching the Strait of Hormuz under any pretext would be considered a violation of the ceasefire. This increases the likelihood of accidental or deliberate clashes. Despite the breakdown in talks, Iran has not completely abandoned diplomacy. Foreign Ministry spokesman Esmail Baghaei stated that both sides had made progress on several issues but still disagreed on two or three key points. He emphasized the ongoing importance of diplomacy, saying, "Diplomacy never ends," and reaffirmed that Iran would continue to pursue its national interests under all circumstances. From the U.S. side, officials have expressed frustration, suggesting that the Iranian delegation failed to fully understand Washington's primary objective, ensuring that Iran never acquires nuclear weapons. This fundamental disagreement remains a major obstacle to any future agreement. On the ground, the Strait of Hormuz has already been operating under significant restrictions since U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran began earlier this year. Iran has tightened its control over the waterway, limiting traffic and imposing conditions on certain vessels. As a result, shipping volumes have dropped to a fraction of pre-war levels. Experts warn that enforcing a blockade is not a simple task and comes with serious risks. U.S. naval forces operating in the region would be exposed to Iranian drones and missile attacks, increasing the chances of direct military confrontation. Additionally, Iran's regional allies, such as the Houthis, could attempt to disrupt shipping routes in other areas like the Red Sea, further expanding the conflict. There are also economic and political challenges. Maintaining a blockade over time would require significant resources and could face resistance from other global powers. Countries like China, which rely heavily on energy imports, may push back against actions that threaten supply stability. Analysts have even suggested that China could use its leverage in critical minerals to pressure the United States. Although Trump has indicated that other countries might join the blockade effort, no specific allies have been confirmed so far. The United Kingdom, for instance, has made it clear that it will not participate unless there is a broader coordinated strategy after active fighting ends. Similarly, other allies such as Japan have expressed willingness to help only once the situation stabilizes. In conclusion, the threat of a blockade has significantly increased tensions in an already volatile situation. While it is intended to pressure Iran economically and strategically, it also carries a high risk of escalation, miscalculation, and global economic disruption. With diplomacy stalled and military posturing increasing, the chances of a quick resolution appear low, leaving the world facing continued uncertainty.